It is Friday, 6/10/2017. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And as usual, I do not have a single thing planned. I do have several tabs open on my browser, but I have a general idea of where I want to take us today, but no real in focus. You know what I mean? I'm still part of me is still on the mat right now, because I gotta tell you, it was a terribly productive get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Friday. I mean, I almost got a guy in an armbar today, and that to me is very, very exciting. You know, and that night I managed to keep from being forced to touch the octopi. I'm not even going to go into what that means. But I was opposing a brown belt, and he was unable to get me to touch the octopus. I can't believe it. It was awesome. Anyway, we're going to be talking a little bit about legislation today, and it is a reoccurring theme on this show, but I think it is terribly important because, you know, I watch my Twitter feed for a lot of things, and one of the things in particular is the general tenor of the way that people regard cryptocurrencies from the legislative perspective, and also from the people that are in the crypto space, how they view the legislative. See, I mean, there's this wide swath of people in the crypto space that think just because the government can't stop a thing, that they won't try to make it illegal. And I think that's kind of a misconception, that there are state and federal entities out there that are trying to get an idea of how to handle cryptocurrencies and exactly how they can get a cut of the action. I mean, because ultimately that's what it's all about. You know, the only reason to make legislation to make something illegal is either to A, enrich yourself, or B, enrich your friends, or and C is actually part of B, keep competition to a minimum. That's the reason why you make legislation that regulates activity in any particular industries. You're trying to make it easy for your friends to make money and for you to be enriched by that process, rather than letting the thing grow as it's supposed to and show us where the value is. You know that, and I think that's a mistake that we've been making in a lot of other industries. And I think it's really holding us back. You know, for one thing, I think flight and aeronautics ought to be like a mandatory class in high school. If you're going to have a standardized class setup, we should be thinking about how to get the fuck off the planet, and that starts with learning to fly. So we should probably be doing that in like junior high and high school. I mean, because I could fly a simulator really fucking good when I was in junior high. Now, granted, they were crap, but I was still pretty good at it. But point being is, I should be behind a stick, flying my vehicle to work every single day. That's or not. You know, I should be, you know, maybe doing work from home and only getting in my flying air car when I want to go somewhere to do something fun. Anyway, let's go ahead and get down with our first dance. And I don't know. I feel that there's a lot of people confusing who actually has authority within the crypto sphere. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it down. A little bit of prong here. Ultimate authority. And that was Annihilator with Word Salad. And, you know, they're a band from back there in the 80s. And as a matter of fact, I believe this is either their first or their second studio release. And the whole album is really, really tasty. I don't know why, but I got some sort of notification that they're still touring, or they're going to be touring with somebody else this this summer, and I looked it up, and apparently they have 12 upcoming dates all in Canada, which is weird, because the band that's related to them in like the tour or whatever, they aren't headlining it. Let's just say that. And I want to say it was Megadeth or some shit like that, or Ozzy or something like that. So I don't know. That may or may not happen. Because, like I said, all the dates on there when I looked up Annihilator, and I did look up another thing on there. Jeff Waters, he was one of the original members of Annihilator, and I believe they've had a couple lineup changes. I didn't look too deep into that, but altogether, I've always been really impressed with the guitar work on it. It's very tight, very crisp, and for its time, it was pretty innovative. I mean, when you consider it against things like Gent or some of the prog metal that's out there, you hear a lot of the proto elements of it in that album, and that's Alice in Hell. I think that was one of the unfortunate things about them is they had that album. And then Alice in Chains came out, and so it's kind of like diluted in the media, you know? Anyway, that's enough about Annihilator. I wanted to talk about something with regard to this scaling business on Bitcoin. Apparently there's some not so new move. Apparently, according to this, it was dated May 23rd, 2017. And it's some sort of agreement with regard to supporting the parallel upgrades to Bitcoin protocol, which will be deployed simultaneously and based on the original SegWit 2 megabyte proposal. Now, I don't understand this. Why are we bothering to try and put SegWit on Bitcoin? I mean, it's not done a damn thing for Litecoin. If you check the chart, they just had a major tank. I haven't checked it in like 6 hours, so that may have changed by now. But the last time I checked, Litecoin was like heading downward, and they've got segregated witness. So, you know, what's it bringing to Litecoin? Why aren't we getting all those level 2 activities going on Litecoin? You know, I mean, it's a big enough network to do what you want to do with it. So you've got it. What the fuck are you doing with it? Doesn't appear to be a damn thing. But we've got to add it to Bitcoin because, well, you know, we just have to. It's fucking stupid. But anyway, this show isn't just about my opinion, it's what's actually going on as well. And so I wanted to read this business because there was a follow-up to it. And I don't believe I've actually read this. Well, at least not on the show. And let's see here. Oh, no. Vitalik Buterin. Yeah. You know, I'm going to hold off on that for right now. In all honesty, I've been trying to get the fuck away from it because the more I've watched the sentiment on my Twitter feed, the more it seems like everybody who's a proponent of this whole SegWit business, they're not miners, and they don't really have a whole lot of stake in the game. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't really matter if it works or if it doesn't for them, because they still get paid in Bitcoin or whatever the fuck. But I don't know. I don't think they're as big a quote unquote community as they would like everybody to believe. I keep hearing that word too. It's like user. And, you know, we've talked about semantic drift on this show. And the previous example I gave was the semantic and functional drift from the miner donation to the miner tip to the miner fee to the transaction fee. That actually happened over time. That happened over the last 8 years. There's this slow creep, you know? And when you think about the words in themselves, the changes in connotation, okay? So, like, the miner donation, that's, hey, you know what? Thanks a lot, guy. I feel great, you know, receiving this service from you. You know, I really believe in your cause, so here's a donation. Then it turned into a miner tip because, you know what? It happened more than once per block. You know, more than one person was giving these donations. So, fuck it. It's a miner tip. It's happening several times every 10 minutes. Why not? But then it became a miner fee. And so now it was something that was implicit, that because somebody mined the coin, that, you know, it was a fee to transact the coin for you. And so then it turned into a transaction fee, because now it doesn't matter if a miner's doing it for you. See, now somebody else could be doing it for you, like a lightning node or something like that could be doing it for you. And now, because the word miner is no longer implicit in the term, there's no actual implicit involvement of miners in that activity. See how that works? So, I've long asserted on this show that there's like a multi-pronged attack, or I don't know if attack is the right word, because I mean, if it were an attack, it would be something unusual. But this seems to be the modus operandi of those that kind of convert a technology or an industry over to where it can be regulated, and you've confined the number of participants to people that you can control if you have to. You know, you kind of flex on their arm a little bit, or, you know, try and grab around their throat. But point being is they're malleable. You can drive your public policy through them, through the private industry. And we've seen this more and more in I don't know, I think we've hit an inflection point, and we've started to go back, you know, that the pendulum is starting to swing back, where too much of the how should I say this, hypocrisy that we allow government and whatnot to get away with on a daily basis just to keep things functioning is becoming apparent. You know, it's like I worked in a factory, okay? I know the difference between the data sheet that I'm looking at and the actual function of the fab. You know, I know that the information that I'm looking at on the computer monitor, it only represents where things are at any one time. It doesn't tell me like how it gets from point A to point B. It doesn't tell me any of the specifics about the machine that's running it or anything like that. And so when you extend that out to socioeconomic policy, you know, with regard to regulation on finance, you can only get away with so much before you start losing trust in that. And I've started to see that sentiment in other articles and whatnot. The idea that people transitioning into cryptocurrencies is a reflection of their lack of confidence in their national currencies. And I think that's actually true. It goes back to that whole idea of whether or not Bitcoin is a threat to the state. The fact of the matter is Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are completely apolitical. in the sense that they allow people to transact. Now, additional values, though, that's where it comes into being a political thing. You know, like Verge currencies, its big thing is privacy, and in a surveillance age, that's kind of that's a political statement. You know, it's like, I don't want to be tracked. And I don't know, I think that's a reasonable expectation myself. I don't think that it's actually the function of government to track our every move or whatnot. I think the function of government is to make sure that the forest fires don't consume too much, and that we don't start into like rampant warfare on the street. You know, I think that's the function of government. And I don't think that you can get there, or I don't think it's proactive or that it helps anybody by trying to confine people out of industries and by pricing them out and so on and so forth. I saw a really interesting map, and if I ever make it to Salem during one of these city council meetings or state council meetings or something about cannabis regulation, because I'd heard somewhere that they want to put a camera on every single medical marijuana person's plants. They want us to point cameras at the plants. And this isn't a new policy. I mean, it's like, what the fuck is the plant going to do? Escape? but aside from that idea, they did this in Colorado. Okay, they've been doing this in Colorado for a while, and I think the regulation's actually letting up there a little bit. But they were doing it in Colorado. I don't know if they are still doing it. I think they may be. Point being, I saw this map, okay, and the map showed all of the places that they found Coloradan pot. And I was surprised that actually some of them were legal states. Actually, all three of the furthest western states, you know, California, Oregon, Washington, they all had Colorado pot. I mean, but like the rest of the country is smoking Colorado's pot. Okay, they're producing so much. And this is with a fucking video camera on every single plant for the medical people. So, what is the regulation really achieving? All it's really doing is pricing growers who cannot afford to put a fucking video camera on every single one of their plants out of the business. That's all it's doing. It's not helping anybody. And really, if you want to talk about the things that can benefit us, you gotta kind of let up on that, because I mean, like I said, it's not like the plant's gonna escape. It's not gonna run away on you or something. But with regard to regulation, I've been coming back around to that here. I've seen several articles on various perspectives of regulation, and I want to go through some of those today here. And this first one, regulation exemption for Bitcoin becomes law in New Hampshire. And this is on bitcoinist.com. And let's see, it is not immediately apparent who authored this thing. Bastards. I like it when they take responsibility for what they've done. Here we go. Matthew Newtboom. Or Newtboom. And this was written on June 8th of 2017, approximately 5 a.m. in the morning. Apparently Matthew likes to work after dark. And I'm assuming by the name, Matthew has a penis. New Hampshire Bill HB 436 will exempt persons using virtual currency from registering as money transmitters. Yay! the first legislation of its kind in the United States. New Hampshire embraces Bitcoin. New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu took his state motto to heart when he signed HB 436 into law, exempting Bitcoin from the state's money transmitter regulations. The measure was passed on June 2nd and will go into effect on August 1st of 2017. The bill follows the passage of the ominously named HB 666, which added Bitcoins and other cryptocurrencies to the money transmitter statutes in 2015. The bill's passage spooked many of the state's Bitcoin enthusiasts who'd previously enjoyed New Hampshire's reputation as a crypto-friendly state. New Hampshire currently boasts the highest per capita Bitcoin usage in the United States. The bill itself is actually quite simple and adds the following brief exemption to the state's money transmitter law. Persons who engage in the business of selling or issuing payment instruments or stored value solely in the form of convertible virtual currency or receive convertible virtual currency for transmission to another location. Don't tread on me. New Hampshire has recently become something of a haven for freedom advocates in the United States and has been ranked the #1 most free state by the Cato Institute. It stands in stark contrast to New York, which attempted to regulate cryptocurrency businesses with a bit license in 2015 and is ranked the least free state by the same study. The bill received strong grassroots support, especially from members of the Free State Project, a libertarian movement aimed at recruiting 20,000 liberty-loving people to move to New Hampshire. Its support was also bolstered by Free Keen blog, founded by Ian Freeman, program director of LRM-FM, and host of the libertarian podcast Free Talk Live. The bloggers were even able to convince state legislators to change the wording of the bill when they realized it would not provide enough protection for cryptocurrencies. A House and Senate divided. Not all of the state's legislators were on board with the bill. The bill narrowly passed the House of Representatives by 185 to 170 vote in March. It likewise divided the state Senate, who passed it with a 13 to 10 vote in April. Unsurprisingly, the New Hampshire Banking Department opposed the bill, believing that deregulation would make it harder to prevent financial fraud. They were backed by the state's Department of Justice, who believed they would not have the expertise to effectively police the cryptocurrency without financial regulations. At a hearing before the Senate Commerce Committee in April, James Buffetti, Senior Assistant Attorney General for New Hampshire's Justice Department, stated, "If you remove this from the jurisdiction of the Banking Department, it default falls to the Department of Justice, but we don't have the same restitution capabilities as the Banking Department. We don't have the expertise." Life, liberty, and the pursuit of Bitcoin. Bitcoin regulation has become somewhat of a turbulent issue in the United States. A bill in Hawaii passed earlier this year forced exchanges to maintain cash reserves equal to any cryptocurrency funds held for its customers. This forced Coinbase to remove Hawaii as a supported state, citing the obvious impracticality of meeting such a demand. Coinbase followed the same course of action earlier in June 2015 when Wyoming enacted similar legislation. What do you think of this new development in Bitcoin legislation? Will other states start following suit? Are you ready to pack up and move to New Hampshire? We want to hear what you have to say in the comments below. Now, well, I don't know. And let's see, does it actually show us comments? There are no comments on this. That's amazing. Oy. Well, yeah, I communicated this on Wednesday that I really think that cryptocurrency legislation and regulation in general is basically going to be the mutually assured destruction of our time. That with New Hampshire being as broad, number one, I don't think they actually have the authority that they're trying to assert. You know, it's one thing to be able to say that you're going to do something. It's another thing to be able to actually do it. You know. So if you're going to require people to have licenses and whatnot, and they're doing it in your state without licenses, what good was you saying that? All you did was open up the possibility that you could possibly arrest this person for having done it. That's it. Now, whether how you apply that law, how stringently you pursue it, that's just a big gray area, you know. And with regard to the types of regulation that they would like to bring to cryptocurrencies, I don't even think it's possible. You know, I think that if people are intent on making transactions, they will make transactions, and there's not really a whole lot you can do about it. I mean, you can place all kinds of restrictions on it, but whether or not people comply with those restrictions, it really depends on how reasonable they are. And as far as I'm concerned, the state or federal government coming into regulating cryptocurrencies would be tantamount to them coming in to regulate Pokemon card trading, or like kitchen gambling sessions with you and the neighbors. You know, I mean, that's about how much business they have in trying to regulate cryptocurrencies. Now, this is a point that I don't know why it's not pursued a lot harder. Is that, like with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, the coins that are stolen, we can probably track them. You know, I mean, if you look at Kraken, they tracked down some coins. They weren't very public about how they did that, or how much they actually tracked down. But the point being is, it's possible. Now, if we're going to pursue any kind of regulation in this space, it should be talking about things like theft. What defines theft? You know, if by its general function, the thing that you design and you put out there in the commercial space steals people's money, then, you know, you should probably be prosecuted for that. But if they did that, then they would have to prosecute banks, because banks steal all your fucking money all the time. I mean, I'm serious. When I say that, I did business in this country as a small businessman, and my biggest expense, my single biggest expense, was the fucking bank. That should not be the case. They are there to help me in times where I have a minor dip in my income or whatever. They're supposed to help me carry through, and instead what they do is they run you into a wall, then they pick you up again, and then they run you into the wall again, and then they pick you up, and then they run you into the wall again, and then they pick you up, and every time they run you into the wall, you're going further and further in debt with them. And they won't lead you around the wall, even though they're perfectly capable of doing that. No, it's more fun to run you into the wall, because that puts you further into debt with them. Well, I mean, really, Bitcoin was an inevitability with that kind of shit going on in the quote-unquote regulated banking space. That assumes that what they're doing is actually legal. To me, it's fucking theft. I mean, if they're using that 72-hour period that they have to mess with your transactions, specifically to reorder them so that your biggest withdrawal over that 72-hour period comes out first, and it'll come out first, and then then get you again on all the other withdrawals that come after that. And, it's sad, it really is. And I mean, I had multiple periods of time where if I'd have just held off a little bit and like put all the money in at once and not done a withdrawal, or had somebody hold a check for me or something like that, it would have saved me like $100 in fucking bank fees. And really, I should not be put in that kind of position with the bank. I mean, their interest is that my business actually increases in size and whatnot, because if I'm encouraged to expand, I'll do things like sign up for loans, and then they can do legitimate business again. But, you know, they're to the point right now to where they have to rape you in order to keep things going. I mean, that's sad. You know, but you can see the counterpoint to that in the interest coming into cryptocurrencies, is because people are just getting sick of being treated like that. Anyway, I haven't played a lot of Anthrax in here, and it's playing in the background, and it's telling me I should probably play some fucking Anthrax. So, fuck it. Here it is. You Gotta Believe, here on Coin Metal. And that was Sepultura with Arise. And I believe those guys are actually on tour at the moment. And it's kind of interesting given the fact I think it's only Andreas Kisser that's the original current member. I mean, or the current original member. I don't know. I haven't been paying too much attention to Sepultura, although I will say this: I've heard some of their newer stuff, and I was impressed. It sounded really tasty, and it definitely sounded like Sepultura. So, you know, if you're a fan, I would definitely go and see them. I was a little bit disappointed because I did have an opportunity to go up and catch them and Prong. Unfortunately, I made it up there only in time to catch Testament, which was exciting in and of itself, but I was really hoping to catch Prong. Anyway, I caught this article here, and I think I want to deliver it second to this one that I found, and this one is on Liteco.in, I guess Litecoin or at Litecoin, I don't know. It's a WordPress page, so. And the title kind of intrigued me, and I know that I've been trying to get away from this, and so I don't know whether or not to engage it or to do something else, because I do have other things that are honestly more exciting, such as I keep seeing these predictions of Bitcoin diving, and I don't really understand that. I mean, the expectation, I guess, is that, you know, what goes up must come down, but when you look at that chart, Bitcoin has just been going up over time, and there's a reason for that. It's because what you're valuating it in is Federal Reserve notes or fiat currencies. Invariably, these type of currencies devalue over time. Now, it happens to be hastening now because governments are taking on a lot more debt to do stuff. Okay, I couldn't tell you what it is because there's still potholes on the road out there in front. You know, maybe it's invading countries I don't know about, or I don't know. It could be. I'm not gonna make any comment on that. It's not a political show. Well, kind of is, but kind of isn't. Anyway, point being that people look at that chart And all they see is the quote-unquote value of Bitcoin. What they're not talking about is the declining value of the U.S. dollar. It's entirely inverse. If you were to take that chart and turn it around, okay, that's what it's showing you, is the decline in value of the U.S. dollar over time versus Bitcoin. And that's because over time, you're competing for less and less Bitcoin than there will ever be. So it's being put into more hands, supposedly. Could be being put into fewer hands over time. We don't know that. I mean, we can find out, but we just don't know specifically. Or I don't know, not specifically, not right now. But anyway, so I keep seeing this idea that it's going to dive. In my opinion, the only way that the value of... Oh, Jesus, fuck you. Fucking hate these people and their fucking pop-ups! Fucking hate you. Hate you! Whoever you are that fucking made it to where these things like constantly reload and the fucking thing just keeps going and going and going, I hate you. I don't say that about people often, but really, I hate you. You're fucking up the internet. Don't do it. Anyway. And that's why it's fucking... You know, Forbes... I don't like that I have to circumvent my own security protocols just to view their shit. And then they turn around and they abuse it by that. That I find that offensive. Anyway, continuing on. Bitcoin will make many more millionaires before diving. And this is by Panos Mardukas. Panos. Good enough. And looks like he has a penis. Alright. So let's see how long this thing is. Alright, here we go. Bitcoin has been flying high lately, making many investors overnight millionaires. Investors who poured money into the digital currency when it was trading at a tiny fraction of its current price, and it will make more millionaires as it could reach for new highs before coming back down to earth. There are a few good reasons for Bitcoin to do so. First of all, there's the ultra-low interest rate environment, which makes the Bitcoin carry trade an appealing proposition. Then there's a growing mistrust of national currencies, following a number of government policies that have pushed more investors to Bitcoin. One of these policies is the pouring of new debt onto old debt by issuing new treasury bonds at record low rates. Japan, for instance, sells treasuries that yield next to nothing, though its debt amounts to as much as 250% of GDP. China's treasuries yield something, but no one knows what its official debt is, or what its unofficial debt is. Wouldn't you rather hold bitcoins rather than yen or yuan denominated debt? Apparently some investors think so. Another policy is the efforts of governments in emerging markets to get rid of old currency notes, as was the case in India and Venezuela a few months ago, a move which coincided with the beginning of the most recent Bitcoin rally. Amazing, isn't it? There are advantages that makes Bitcoin a better hedge against global uncertainties than conventional hedges like gold, at least for the millennial generation, which understands the digital currency better than the baby boomer generation. Unlike gold, for instance, Bitcoin is a convenient medium of payment around the globe. Then there's scarcity. Bitcoin's supply is expected to be limited to 21 million. By contrast to the supply of gold, on the other hand, tends to increase any time its price rises, as that provides an incentive for gold miners to mine for gold. Meanwhile, there is investor hype. More and more investors are becoming familiar with the digital currency and can use ETFs to conveniently participate in the market. No, not yet. Of course, we all know what happens to an investment when investor hype cools, or even worse, turns in the wrong direction. It dives back to earth, and millions vanish, much faster than they accumulated. The only way I'd see Bitcoin going through this that kind of dive that this guy is talking about would be if they did get segregated witness, banks and credit card companies and legacy finance took over the Lightning networks, or at least had the only affordable Lightning networks, or had the most affordable Lightning networks, or the best Lightning networks, or the licensed Lightning networks, because, again, we've talked about that word money transmitter, and the preposterous proposal that New Jersey has anything to say about quote-unquote blockchains, or anybody else for that matter. I mean, New York, they're pretty much done. I mean, they have announced that they intend to die. That's pretty much all New York did with BitLicense, because they won't give it up. That would be admitting they are wrong. And there's one thing New Yorkers have the most difficulty doing, and that is admitting that they are wrong. You know, that's why they just live with those accumulated regulations and taxations and violations and all that other bullshit. I mean, they have such a backlog with their shit. I read some article online here about how they've got some massive backlog with having to pick people up or something like that. They're still roaming the streets because they just can't process them fast enough. Well, they basically clogged their judicial system by over-prosecuting people. You know, turning things that are not crimes into crimes. You know, things like smoking pot. Smoking pot should not be a crime anywhere. And speaking of that, because I'm really trying to stay the fuck away from that UASF bullshit, although I do want to touch on one article with regard to that, but, you know, we still got plenty of time in the night, so, you know, no rush, right? But anyway, this one I wanted to touch on because something really interesting happened in the in the altcoin space, and I want to say it was back in like 2012 or 2013. Somebody had an epiphany, and this epiphany was that because the federal government had its restriction on cannabis, and the result was that in states that had legalized, they were not capable of doing anything but cash transactions, that in order to facilitate secure digital transactions, they should create a cryptocurrency for pot. Now, this started an avalanche of different pot-related coins. I mean, there's pot coin, there's like weed coin, cannabis coin, canna coin. I could go on and on and on. There's like, I want to say there's like 10, maybe 20 of them. You know, THC coin. And how many of those actually survived, I couldn't tell you. But I would imagine they... pretty much all of them have croaked. I think Potcoin is still operational out there. But they were trying to do a kind of a fringe market thing. And I think that it was a noble pursuit, really. I think that they could have taken it much further with regard to helping facilitate the era that we're in. Like, I'll give you an idea. So you're in a shop in Colorado, and you get a Skype call, and a guy on the other side wants some weed, and he wants something really heavy indica, really, couch anchor kind of shit. And so you start digging around behind you in the jars and whatnot, and you find the one that you think would fit his need. And you show him a bud, and he says, "Yeah, that looks good. How much of that, or how much for a gram of that, or how much a gram?" And the guy says, "Well, you would say, I don't know, 25 a gram," or you would give him a definitive number. I'm sure, more professional. This goes for 25 pot coin a gram. The guy says, "I want 5 grams." You say, "Okay, I want, whatever the number is." Don't ask me to do math right now. I think 125. Okay, so 125 pot coin. You charge him, or you have him scan your receive address, right? He types in 125. He clicks send. You receive the payment, but it hasn't confirmed yet. Now, he's got, from the period that he leaves his house, or you deliver it to him, for that to confirm. Or you just wait for it to confirm. I think Potcoin was like 2 or 3 minutes. So you wait 2 or 3 minutes. You've hung up with him by now. Okay? And if you're going to deliver it, he's got a receipt for it, a QR code for the receipt. And you'll be able to go up and scan that. You'll confirm that was the guy that made the transaction. Here's your 5 grams of pot. Done and done. Or, better yet, he comes to you. You've got his shit in a bag already, right? You've already confirmed the transaction 2 or 3 times by now, and so it's pretty damn sure that he's not going to double spend on you or anything like that. And you give him his pot. Now, you could conceivably do this with Bitcoin already. And of course, you can do it with any cryptocurrency. But the point being that that's the kind of thing that this technology enables. And I'm really not seeing a lot of people doing that kind of thing. I mean, I would like to set up a service where you're like a designated shopper. You're like a Skype shopper, right? And you hang out in Walmart, and you've got your Skype open on your phone, and people call you, right, in your local vicinity. Yo, yeah, what do you want? And you walk through the store for them, and you pick out all the stuff that they want, and they pay for it at the register, and then you deliver it. Wouldn't that be pimp? Anyway, the article that kind of inspired it here, Indospace allows cannabis merchants to accept Bitcoin effortlessly. If only it was that easy to say, right? And this one is on Altcoin Today. And do we have the author? This was written on June 9th, 2017. And we don't have an author yet, apparently. So we can't tell if they have a penis. Anyway, continuing on. This week, Bitcoin.com spoke with Justin Nahin, the founder of Indospace, a payment platform startup connecting cannabis dispensaries with Bitcoin. Man, I could have done this a long time ago. I could probably still do this. Indospace.io is the first online payment solution that incorporates a dispensary's updated menu with a Bitcoin checkout. The company is a white-label Bitcoin payment platform that serves marijuana dispensaries and their customers throughout the United States and Canada. They allow individual dispensaries and those with multiple locations to register and log in using two-factor authentication to claim their business and establish certain selling criteria, including sales tax, delivery fees, delivery radius, employees, and a minimum order amount, among others. Following the procedure, the dispensary can then save their settings and immediately open their online menu and Bitcoin checkout cart. Each order received will be processed at a 3.5% fee, with the balance automatically applied to their wallet supplied by Indospace. We chatted with Mr. Nahin to get some insight into the Indospace project and how Bitcoin is used for cannabis purchases. Integrating the cannabis market with Bitcoin. Bitcoin.com. Can you tell our readers how you came up with your business model connecting dispensaries with Bitcoin? Justin Nahin. I've known about cannabis banking problems for quite some time. Cash-only and ATM machines are present at most dispensaries. Bitcoin seemed to be a great fit for the industry, and after extensively researching the topic, I found numerous articles that strongly supported my personal assessment. I discovered that there were already a few dispensaries accepting Bitcoin as one method of payment, which gave me the confidence to pursue the last 10 months in developing this business. I thought that there must be plenty of other dispensaries wanting to accept Bitcoin as well, but quickly discovered that there was a multitude of existing technical hurdles. Most businesses found them insurmountable and simply quit. Realizing that there had to be a better way, I decided to build a web platform that put everything into one neat little package. The Indospace.io platform makes it easy for both the dispensary owner and their customers to engage in cannabis Bitcoin transactions. I had decided to contact some dispensaries that were already accepting Bitcoin and quickly determined that they were missing numerous critical pieces. BC. Have you worked with any dispensaries so far helping them integrate their menu? JN. The company launched Sunday, June 4th, 2017. Our initial campaign reaches out to specific retailers, showing them a preview of their menus and a recap of benefits. BC. Can any state that has legal cannabis dispensaries use this platform? JN. Yes. Any dispensary in any state that has successfully registered with Indospace can immediately engage in commerce. BC. Can you tell our readers how Bitcoin is used for a transaction? JN. The process starts when a user lands on a dispensary menu page by way of an organic search or by clicking on a direct link placed on social media pages. A pop-up confirms the necessary requirements to proceed with an online order, such as requiring an MMJ medical license, age status, location, and obtaining enough Bitcoin to complete their transaction. Bitcoin primarily is acquired through top exchanges such as Coinbase or India Coin. Coinbase is currently the best exchange in the United States, according to numerous sources. They provide an intuitive interface and a history of fast transactions by way of credit/debit card and bank account transfers. Once users purchase Bitcoin, it is either parked at the exchange in a user wallet or sent to another wallet that the owner specifies with a Bitcoin address. Once a user is done adding items to their shopping cart, they proceed to Step 2. Step 2 involves the user providing their first name, last name, email, and cell phone number. The final step displays the order receipt and required instructions on how to complete the transaction. There are multiple ways to complete the transaction, including a simple scan of the QR code. There is also a Pay with your wallet option that is similar to clicking on a Mail to link in a browser, which launches the default email program on the user's device. The application launches the amount due and destination payment address pre-filled, allowing for an effortless transaction. BC. What's the overall mission for Indospace? JN. The mission of Indospace.io is to engage every legal cannabis dispensary in the US and Canada to incorporate Bitcoin into their cash management strategy using our comprehensive e-commerce automated menu and checkout system. Interesting. I don't know that it's terribly necessary, but, who am I? I know that they have enough hurdles to jump over in the cannabis industry to have, not want to worry about whether or not their transactions are legal, or whether they're going to have any legal issues or taxation or converting back over to US dollars, or all that other shit. It's all very up in the air for them, and personally I don't think they should be actually in that position. It seems like we in cryptocurrencies are being kind of corralled in the same manner, that there are peoples out there that want to push us into the box, push us back into the regulatory box. But like I said, I really believe that is the damn it, I keep having the mutually assured destruction of our time. And I'll keep stumbling over it until it just rolls right off my tongue there. But mutually assured destruction. It's that idea that, sure, you can act, but then the reactions of your competitors or the people that also possess nukes that you're raining down nukes onto is that they can launch their nukes before your nukes will hit them, and they can kill you while you kill them. Mutually assured destruction. Yeah, that's how I see all efforts to regulate. I see them as basically you throwing up the white flag to the bankers and the legacy finance and saying, we're giving up on all the innovation in society and technology and all that shit that this will enable, and we want to stay stuck in the 1950s because we can control things like that, and or at least have the illusion that we can control things, and we're comfortable with that. And comfort is good, until it kills you. Anyway, speaking of, U.S. Department forms new blockchain working group. Man, I've said it before that even engaging the government or legislators or whatnot, it's just not a good idea. I mean, they don't understand what they're talking about, and you don't understand what they're hearing when you're talking to them enough to get the full picture. I mean, I sat and I listened to Andreas Antonopoulos talk to the Canadian government, and it was enlightening, although I kept seeing that look like, oh, these stupid kids, they think they're going to get away with this and we're going to clamp down on them. I kept seeing that in their faces, and I'm like, man, no. You're just going to put innocent people in jail. That's all you're going to do. But fortunately, it seems they've kind of stayed their hand, although I think I read something about them progressing forward with some sort of regulatory thing. But anyway, I wanted to get into this one here. The U.S. State Department forms new blockchain working group. The U.S. State Department is looking... Oh, wait a minute. This one was written on June 9th, 2017. It is on the bitcoinnews.com. And do we have an author? Author, where are you? Oh, wait a minute. No wonder. It's not even their article. Apparently this was first put up on CoinDesk, and it was by Chuan Tian. Now, being unfamiliar with Chinese names, I'm ambiguous as to whether this person has a penis or not. Sorry. Anyway, U.S. Department forms new blockchain working group. The U.S. Department is looking to boost its research resources in support of a new working group focused on blockchain. According to a post on its website, the department, which serves as the U.S. government's chief policy arm, wants to bring in an intern to support research efforts for its Blockchain at State working group. The initiative is being overseen by the Office of Global Partnerships. According to Thomas DeBase, the Director of Innovation and the Acting Special Representative for Global Partnerships, the intern will track developments in blockchain and prepare bi-weekly briefings to keep the initiative informed of new applications in the field. In the posting, the State Department outlined an ambitious approach to blockchain, arguing that it needs to move quickly to explore the ways in which the tech might impact how it functions. The department wrote, "Blockchain is not just for Bitcoin, and it's not just for the private sector. Nations and cities around the world are actively utilizing this technology to transform the work of government. This is happening now, and the Department of State cannot afford to wait to explore applications of this technology to the work of international development and diplomacy." Department of State is not the only department in government looking into blockchain technology. Earlier this year, the Department of Health and Human Services held a hackathon to focus on blockchain applications following a call for research papers. The Commerce Department hosted an event to discuss how the tech could be applied to digital copyright in December. I don't know why you guys are bothering. Really, I don't. The fact of the matter is quote-unquote blockchains are great at being able to account. They're great for giving you a definitive account of the state of affairs. That is something you don't want. You don't want that. If you have that, then you can get rid of a lot of your departments. So yeah, I don't know. I have no idea why you're even bothering. Anyway, let's go ahead and drop down into some music here. I'm feeling the need for some Slayer. You know, they are going to be playing here in Eugene. I believe it's the 11th of August, and I cannot wait because I have a ticket. And so, yeah. Dissident Aggressor. This is originally a Judas Priest song, and one of these days I'm going to get the Judas Priest album. It's got I want to say it's Screaming for Vengeance. It's got Electric Eye on it, and man, it's so prophetic. If you listen to it, the lyrics, they describe things like social media and the panopticon like just to a T, man, to a T. Anyway, here it is, Dissident Aggressor, here on Coin Metal. And that was Hangar 18 by Megadeth. A little bit of old school there. And yeah, I think this is the article that I was talking about earlier about Canada. And this one is on Bitcoin News. Apparently it was written today, June 10th of 2017. And here it is. Canadian government agencies join Tapscott-led blockchain research effort. The Government of Canada, along with several provincial and municipal administrations, has joined a prominent blockchain research effort. Announced today, the Blockchain Research Institute, founded in March by Blockchain Revolution, authors Don and Alex Tapscott, revealed new members including Provincial Government of Ontario, the City of Toronto, and the Bank of Canada, and the country's central bank. The research partnership with the Blockchain Research Institute will give Canada a globally competitive advantage in the development of this transformative technology. No, it won't. Navdeep Bains, Canadian Minister of the Innovation, Science and Economic Department, said in a statement, Blockchain Research Institute, based in Toronto, is a syndicated research group and aimed at providing academic analysis of the impacts of blockchain on a wide range of industries, including retail, manufacturing, and financial services. The effort features a list of other big-name founding members, including IBM, Accenture, SAP, PepsiCo, and NASDAQ, along with blockchain startups like Digital Asset Holdings and Nuco. The institute is primarily funded by its members, and it charges a basic membership fee of $200,000. According to the press release, the institute is announcing over a dozen additional private sector members, including Thomson Reuters, over the next month. With the Government of Canada joining, it also expects to attract more members. Yeah, I don't think so. The idea that you can get innovation from these kind of guys, I think is silly. Mostly because they're at the upper end of the management sphere, and so they're so far divided from where so far separated, I should say, from where the rubber hits the road, that proper application of this technology is probably not very likely. I mean, I don't know. I can't see really the utility in it. I mean, I can and I can't. I can see the utility of trying to apply blockchain technologies, but again, these are tools for account. So I mean, what are you going to be taking account of? Is it going to be something that you will need to modify later on to adjust to some sort of political rhetoric? Or are you using it as a means to provide for you the legitimate state of affairs? And if that's the case, then yes, game on. But you're going to find out really quick that a lot of government exists just to suck money. That it doesn't actually generate the value that is stated on the label. You know, I'll give you one example in particular is private prisons. You know, they've often been touted as a way to reduce the cost for the state of running a prison. And it turns out that's not the case. You know, that they adjust release for people so that they can fill up the seats with other people in their factories and whatnot, and they lobby for more and more prisons to be built and more things to be deemed criminal activities to necessitate putting people in those prisons, and that takes away from the general pool of brain power and manpower out on the open market, which in turn has other negative effects. I really think that when you look at the cost-benefit ratio, you find out that privatized prisons shouldn't be a model that we use. I mean, I think that if you are going to have state corrections or even federal corrections, that the state or federal government should be the people running it. Because they have, that way the priorities are theirs, not some private companies. You know? In any case, so I've been dithering around whether or not I wanted to get into this. I've got two relatively long articles about it, one a bit longer than the other, but I think ultimately will possibly cast a shadow on this one. So anyway, this one it's up on WordPress, and it's lightco.in, whatever the fuck. So it spells out Litecoin. Anyway, here it is. 52 days to SegWit, why the chain won't split. Okay. Last week's post about the BIP 148 UASF ended up generating quite a bit of discussion on Reddit and Twitter, which you can read here and here respectively. I have since received a lot of comments about BIP 148 from people who read the post or otherwise used it as an opportunity to voice their opinion about BIP 148. The vast majority of these comments were positive, and the comments that were negative were mostly supportive of the idea of a UASF, just not this particular UASF. The remainder was trolling. Okay. As I stated in last week's post, the main reason that I'm supporting BIP 148 is because I don't think we need to wait for either SegWit 2X to roll out or BIP 149 to activate, if it ever gets deployed. This is not a matter me of taking my impatience out on the bit. What the fuck? God damn it! Who wrote this thing? Who wrote this fucking thing? We're gonna call you out by name if we can find your fucking name, dude. Apparently, this was by John Light. All right, John. Apparently you did not read this thing yourself, or you probably would have caught this. Let's see, here it is. This is not a matter me of taking my impatience out on the Bitcoin network, potentially putting the sanctity of the blockchain on the line in the process. I have no intention of helping to violate Bitcoin's core value as a reliable P2P electronic cash system. Of course you do. If you're encouraging this bullshit, this fucking BIP 148, that's fucking a coup. It's a 51% attack. Anyway, continuing. My support of BIP 148 is an acknowledgement and open embrace of the fact that individuals and companies representing over 80% of the hash power on the Bitcoin network recently signed an agreement to activate SegWit, and dozens of the most influential wallets, exchanges, and infrastructure providers have signaled their readiness for SegWit since it was first introduced in December of 2015! 2 fucking years ago! That's how long you've been holding this up! To this moment, I have assumed that the reason SegWit supporters are not yet enforcing BIP 148 is because they aren't educated about it. There are a lot of proposals up in the air, so it's understandable that some don't get the scrutiny they otherwise might if there were more hours in the day. To help educate the public, I published the blog post last week and am sharing additional information here. There will likely be many others who come forward to educate those around them about BIP 148. I have already had offers to have last week's post translated into 3 different languages. By August 1st, we will be able to see who is being honest about their support of SegWit and who, if anyone, is not. Dude, an important point to acknowledge is that many of the important stakeholders BIP 148 needs to succeed recently signed the SegWit 2.2x agreement. As far as I can tell, BIP 148 is not compatible with the SegWit 2x agreement. At the very least, BIP 148 does not violate the spirit of the agreement, since it both activates SegWit and in no way prevents signatories from running code for a 2 megabyte hard fork once it's ready. There is a possibility that SegWit 2x's developers will not hit their milestones on schedule without issue. I believe it would be in the spirit of consensus for everyone who signed the SegWit 2x agreement to update their nodes to enforce BIP 148 so that we can ensure a smooth SegWit activation on or before August 1st. Developers will then be freed to focus on coding, testing, and deploying the hard fork software. The criticisms of BIP 148. After last week's blog post was published, there were two major criticisms of BIP 148 that came up repeatedly. I was aware of these criticisms before I published the post, but enjoyed engaging on one-on-one with people who had these concerns and asking direct questions to learn more and solidify my understanding. The two major concerns or criticisms go something like this. If the BIP 148 chain has a minority of hashing power, then there will be a chain split. This will cause all kinds of problems for Bitcoin users, including increased confirmation times and the potential for replay attacks to happen between the BIP 148 chain and the legacy chain. OK Turtle's co-founder Greg Sleepak discussed the consequences of a chain split with me in a recent YouTube live session. Yeah, wonderful. We're not going to go to that. 2. BIP 148 activates too soon, which increases the chance of the disruptive scenarios described in 1 above playing out. We should either stick with the status quo or support something that gives us more time, like BIP 149 instead. George Timon brought this up on Twitter, as have others. My response to, and by the way, neither one of these really concern me. The number one, the whole idea of a chain split, I consider that almost a certainty with this shit. But anyway, continuing on. My response to critics is that I too think a chain split would be very disruptive, unacceptable even, and I would be right there with you advocating that BIP 148 supporters stand down, if not for the fact that a supermajority of hash power and a large part of the economic majority have publicly pledged support for activating SegWit. Yeah, okay, they did that because you're serving them fucking drinks, probably the services of prostitutes, and maybe even some cocaine. Yeah, I'll agree to that shit too. Of course, if neither the economic majority nor the majority of the hash power are enforcing BIP 148 on August 1st, the advice as published on uasf.co is to stop enforcing BIP 148 and switch back to the legacy consensus rules. But again, a supermajority of hash power and a large part of the economic majority have publicly pledged support for SegWit, so we should have no problem activating it on or before August 1st. My appeal to all Bitcoin users, miners, and economic nodes alike. If you have publicly stated support for activating SegWit either as part of the SegWit 2x agreement or any other time, make your support and enforcement of BIP 148 known so we can smoothly activate SegWit on or before August 1st the way it was designed to be and the way I know we would all prefer it to be done. SegWit is designed to be the safest, fastest way for us to add capacity for the Bitcoin network, and it fit more transactions into every block. SegWit could have the effect of lowering per transaction fees in the short term, but more importantly, it paves the way for longer term on and off chain scaling improvements. Bullshit. It paves the way for disintermediating the people that have disintermediated banks. That's what it enables. Anyway, continuing on. SegWit in no way prevents us from implementing a hard fork block size limit increase in the future, provided there is consensus around a safe solution that does not compromise Bitcoin's core value. Like you're really fucking concerned about that, seeing as you're proposing a fucking 51% attack. Like you give a fuck about Bitcoin's core values. Bullshit. It's supposed to be 95% consensus, bitch. We are working on what is perhaps the most important project we will ever devote our time to. While some look at Bitcoin and see only dollar signs, many of us still understand that the end game of Bitcoin means much more than making some early adopters rich. Previous efforts to scale the system to support current and future influxes of users have had their flaws, but we are at the point where we have broad consensus around a safe solution and growing consensus around additional capacity increases in the future. Let's activate SegWit via BIP 148 and give the SegWit 2x team the breathing room they need to work on a safe hard fork implementation as agreed. In the meantime, other contributors can work on separate on and off-chain scaling solutions, as well as research into communication layers that could help make discussion and coordination for soft and hard forks better in the future. We had the opportunity of a lifetime to destroy Satoshi Nakamoto's dream to build the foundation layer of the future of money, one that could possibly be in use for as long as the internet itself exists. Let's not squander it over whatever it is that kept SegWit from activating to date. Dude, I don't know why you don't understand this. The vast majority of miners out there do not want SegWit. I mean, look at the number of blocks that are flagging support for it. It was going down the last time I checked. So, no, I don't think you're going to get it, dude. I really don't. And I've got another article here. This is kind of the counterpoint, at least I think it is, maybe, possibly a deception. But this was by Joseph Young. Not a single Bitcoin core developer has approved SegWit plus 2 megabyte hard fork yet. Let's see what this is all about. Bitcoin core developers haven't expressed their support for SegWit 2x. The proposal to activate segregated witness at an 80% activation threshold by September and execute a 2 megabyte block size increase hard fork 6 months thereafter. On June 9th, Barry Silbert, the founder and CEO of Digital Currency Group, which recently led 57 companies to establish the Bitcoin Scaling Agreement, or the SegWit 2x agreement, stated, "Super pleased with the progress to date on SegWit 2x, and more importantly, thrilled to see increased level of collaboration with core developers." However, according to the publicly available SegWit support column on the Bitcoin Wiki shared by Bitcoin trader and consultant Tone Vase, not a single Bitcoin core developer has approved or announced their involvement in the development of the SegWit 2x proposal. Interesting. Evaluating, deciding, or declining. Only 2 Bitcoin core developers, Eric Lombrazzo and George Timon, are currently evaluating the SegWit 2x proposal, and others have either rejected the proposal introduced by the 58 companies participating in the Bitcoin Scaling Agreement, or have not yet decided to support it or to decline the proposal. So far, Eric Lombrazzo is the only developer who has publicly stated that he will continue to collaborate with Silbert, DCG, and the other 57 companies who represent 83.28% of hashing power and 5.1 billion monthly on-chain transaction volume. On May 27th, Lombrazzo vowed to help Silbert and make DCG's initiative a success in order to resolve conflicts amongst developers, businesses, and miners to solve Bitcoin's current scaling issues. Lombrazzo, the Bitcoin core development team, the industry, and the mining community unanimously agreed that the scaling issue needs to be addressed because ultimately users are suffering from the increased fees and growing fee market. Scaling solution needs to be activated urgently. Recently, the recommended fees on prominent Bitcoin wallet platforms such as Zappo and Blockchain, as well as Bitcoin fee estimators, including 21 Inc.'s Bitcoin fees, surpassed the $3 mark. In fact, 21 Inc.'s Bitcoin fees suggest that the fastest and cheapest transaction fee is currently 480 satoshis per byte, which would result in a fee of $3, considering the median Bitcoin transaction of 226 bytes. It has become quite evident that the scaling solution needs to be activated urgently in order to lessen the fees and allow users to utilize Bitcoin as a digital currency. Some major exchanges, such as Kraken, have begun to charge users over $7 as a withdrawal fee due to the rapidly rising Bitcoin transaction fee and the fee market. It is possible that the DCG, Barry Silbert, and the other 57 companies listed on the Bitcoin Scaling Agreement are making actual progress with Bitcoin core developers and are trying to make their initiative a success. Over the past few weeks, the Bitcoin community has seen more progress in Bitcoin scaling than it did in the past few months. Developers have started to collaborate with businesses and miners to ensure Bitcoin receives the ideal scaling solution for both short and long-term scalability. You know what? Anytime somebody talks about quote-unquote scalability, they're talking about giving this shit to banks. Scalability it's a fucking word made up by fucking banks to panic you people. I mean, it's a global currency. Where's there to fucking scale to? I mean, we're not doing transactions between here and Mars yet, so where's there to fucking scale to? You know, it seems to me that what's really going on here is they're trying to put the responsibility for their fuck-ups on the Bitcoin network, rather than taking responsibility for that shit themselves. You know, I guess the perspective is, you know, we're this big badass exchange and we have to pay all this fucking regulatory bullshit, so we're going to make everybody else pay this fucking regulatory bullshit. Even though we took on the responsibility ourselves of deciding that we want to run an exchange, we're going to make everybody else pay for our decision to take that responsibility on ourselves by making them act and perform just the way we do. I think that's bullshit. You came into this space of your own free will. You knew how it operated before you came in here. Now, coming in here and telling everybody you need to change shit so it does things my way, that's fucking bullshit. You might as well be saying, you know, I want you to come to my house and then dictate the menu for dinner. And, you know, according to your approval, that'll determine whether or not it's quality. You know, we didn't invite you here, dude. You came in here on your own. You decided to take on cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin payments on your own. We didn't invite you. But we welcome you to use it. Just don't tell us how to fucking do it. No, that's fucking bullshit. It's just bullshit. Anywho, I do want to get into some more music. I'm feeling the need. I mean, they took a lot out of me at jiu-jitsu today, man. Those guys are tough. You know? I mean, I kept myself from getting strangled or my arm ripped off or anything, but it was not easy. Not at all. Anyway, I've been wanting to put in a little bit of Helmet here. Some Unsung. Here on Coin Metal. And that was Sepultura with Subtraction. That was off of Arise. An oldie but goodie. Anyway. So yeah, you know, that whole SegWit 2 megabyte thing, yeah. I think it's kind of goofy. I don't think it's actually going to go through, but diving off of that because I'm just bored of that shit. and I found a couple other articles I was more interested in conveying. And this one, I think this one kind of hits home, especially for us, because Verge currency is a anonymous currency. And if you did not catch it and you would like to hear the audio version of the Verge Black Paper, you can look that up on my YouTube channel. Just look up either Frank Dashwood or hashtag CoinMetal or Bitcoin or altcoins. It ought to come up. I put a whole bunch of tags on it, so it makes it a little bit easier to find. But yeah, you'll definitely find it under Frank Dashwood and or CoinMetal. And it's indicated as the Verge Black Paper as opposed to white paper, because we do that whole anonymous thing. And no, it's not racial. I don't know why, but I was getting that in the IRC channel. It's like, is this a racial thing? No, it's not racial. Anyway, this one is on trustnodes.com. I don't trust anything in crypto, so why you would call it trustnodes, I don't know. Anyway, Monero transactions are not anonymous, says new study. And this was written on April 15th of 2017, and only 271 people have viewed it. Interesting. A new paper by Andrew Miller, Arvid Narayanan, Malti Moser, and Kevin Lee, researchers from University of Illinois and Princeton University, concludes that 80% of Monero transactions are linkable, the study says. Among all the prior outputs referenced by a Monero transaction input, the real one is usually the newest one, the one that was committed most recently in the blockchain. The currency tries to obfuscate transactions by mixing. In this specific case, they display real previous transactions alongside the actual transaction. However, since Monero's blockchain largely operates like Bitcoin's blockchain, transactions are usually included in the latest block. That means the real transaction is the one with the largest block number from which a timestamp can be derived. We here at TrustNodes reached the same conclusion last year after an in-depth analysis of the currency regarding its anonymity claim following a sudden surge in Monero's popularity. Back then, after analyzing a random transaction, we said, exact times of when these transactions occurred are not shown, but we have a block number. We should be able to get a time at which point it should be relatively easy to tell what exactly is going on. We can say, for example, with a fairly high level of certainty that the fourth public key is the actual input to the 3XMR transaction. We know this because it is the latest transaction and thus has the highest block number of the other four, as it must due to the basic logic and fundamentals. As such, we know exactly what address is sending what to where. Our investigative findings are now scientifically confirmed with the paper further analyzing other ways Monero's transactions can be linked in a manner that makes them, for privacy purposes, little different from Bitcoin transactions. This means the quest for anonymity continues, a promise long made, starting with Bitcoin itself, which initially marketed the currency as fully anonymous, then mixers which tried to do the same, then Monero and others, like Dash, with all of them found to be not really that anonymous. The latest one to fall victim to claim full anonymity is Zcash. This is a currency that took years of development and was launched by researchers from Johns Hopkins University, therefore has some credibility. However, a potential, though very unlikely, de-anonymizing vector de-anonymization vector is known due to a necessary weakness in the so-called initiation process. When Zcash was launched, there was an initiation ceremony which requires that at least one key was destroyed. That means we cannot have complete certainty this ceremony was not exploited in some way, but most of the attack vectors appear far-fetched and unlikely. Beyond that, the currency hasn't yet gone through any hype sessions, except for when it was launched, but at that time anonymous transactions were not yet operational. Where are we here? Except for when it was launched. To draw attention and more careful analysis of how its transactions are actually linked. That means we can't quite be sure yet in any event that is actually anonymous, as it is not provided much incentive for very intense scrutiny. In any event, currencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum are not quite transparent. Even in default use, they are pseudo-anonymous, as someone needs to know your address to know it is you who is transacting. Afterwards, deductions can be made regarding who sent what to who, but for small amounts of 1 or 10 BTC, such deductions are not easy. On top, there are mechanisms which can obfuscate transactions further, including mixing as well as interchanging them for other currencies. Therefore, Bitcoin and Ethereum usually retain privacy to a sufficient degree. Well, it's terribly interesting. Apparently, Monero is not quite there yet. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I don't usually follow it too closely, but I like to try and make my audience aware of this stuff. I mean, in case you were considering Monero as a possible way of avoiding taxation or some other thing, or whatever, just being anonymous, apparently that is not the case. But I am seeing some additional interest these days in Ethereum. And I don't know, my own interest in Ethereum has peaked and waned from time to time. Every once in a while I get interested in them, but then something happens and I lose interest. Sorry, I had to wet the old whistle there. But this one again is on trust nodes, and I just clicked on it because it seemed like an possibly interesting short article. And this one was written on June 7th of 2017. Ethereum sparks a mining GPU rush in a race to mint money. All 480 through 580 graphics cards sold out nationwide, shouts seeking alpha. Blame cryptocurrency miners for scarcity, says PC Gamer, and AMD shares are surging, says CNBC. RX 580 is being listed on Amazon for as high as $900. This is absolutely insane, says Tweaktown. Welcome to Ethereum, the people's currency, which keeps sparking gold rushes after gold rushes, with the latest being the minting of money itself, Ethereum mining. As Ethereum's price has increased to new highs, mining has now become a very profitable activity. So everyone is racing to get some of that free gold, sending GPUs out of stock, while making game makers somewhat annoyed. Gamers. Rumors are that AMD and Nvidia are working on a crypto-specific GPU that does not include display connectors, so gamers can be left alone, but it is not clear how long that would take, and no one wants to wait. Because while previously it was just a small number of banks that printed money out of nowhere, it is now everyone that mints gold as long as you can get your hands on one of the GPUs. But the GPU rush may be temporary, as all of that electricity and all of those resources could be put to far better uses rather than wasted on some random pointless math calculations. That's why very soon Ethereum won't require any GPUs for mining. Instead, through proof of stake, all you'll need is some Ethereum, a normal laptop, an Ethereum node, the downloadable software such as Geth or Parity, and the willingness to lock up your ETH in a savings account manner. The exact timing of when Ethereum will upgrade to POS remains unclear. Ethereum is the first to have the Metropolis upgrade, which adds privacy and other efficiencies, with time estimates being sometime this year. After that, Ethereum is to upgrade to Serenity, one of the biggest protocol upgrades in this space that includes proof of stake, which would hopefully be sometime next year, but no one can be very sure. That means GPUs may continue to be in very high demand in the near future, so gamers may want to stop wasting their time playing online and put their GPUs on eBay instead. Yeah, whatever. I don't think the interest in mining is going to wane. I think that the interest in mining is going to actually continue to increase. And as far as mining being pointless, no sir, I disagree wholeheartedly. Did not get an opportunity to see who authored that article, but whoever it was, I believe you're incorrect, sir. I believe you're incorrect. And I'm taking it from the points made that it was most likely a person with a penis. But again, I don't think the electricity being put into mining is quote unquote wasted. You're securing the network for people all over the planet, so I don't think that's really a wasteful thing. Now, it is true that you do use a lot of electricity for mining, and it probably could be put to other things. However, I would much rather dedicate my electricity and my GPU cycles to mining than running some fucking program in the background of my fucking computer that I didn't know was there and was there as part of some fucking licensing requirement of some piece of software I either downloaded or bought. In any case. But yeah, mining, I believe it will continue to be a cottage kind of industry. And it seems that there are others out there that agree with me on this point. And this one again is on trust nodes. An unfortunately named periodical for cryptocurrencies. Anyway, 86%... Oh, wait, let's find out if this person has a penis or not. June 8th, 2017 is the author date. And does it give us an author? Where is it? Nope. It doesn't tell us who wrote this. I don't trust it immediately, man. I don't know who wrote it. Don't know if they have a penis. Can't scrutinize their perspective on what's between their legs. Anyway, continuing. 86% of bankers say public blockchains like Ethereum and Bitcoin will gain greater prominence. A seismic shift in the attitude appears to be underway as bankers who have long dismissed public blockchains now appear to believe it will gain greater prominence over the next 5 years. By comparison, 80% believe the same for private blockchains, with half of them thinking blockchain technology will fundamentally transform the banking industry, while 91% say blockchain tech will be either critical or important to their firm's future. The data based on a survey by Cognizant, a technology consulting firm which studied the attitudes of 1,520 executives from 578 financial service firms. The vast majority of respondents, 90%, said their firm has identified or is in the process of identifying functions or processes that can be automated with blockchain. And 3/4 said they expect the technology will eventually allow them to automate 2.5% or more jobs at their company, says the report. As much as $20 billion annually could be saved in infrastructure costs through blockchain technology, with respondents highlighting the number of benefits as shown below. And I'm not going to go through all that bullshit. They've got a chart here. There is uncertainty regarding privacy and scalability, the report says, so some firms are waiting for more clarity, while some early adopters are pushing ahead rapidly. Waiting for clarity before moving forward is not a viable option, the report says, before adding, to ensure they are not left behind, firms need to move quickly to determine how their business strategy can leverage blockchain, build the required capabilities into their business processes and technology systems, and become comfortable with collaborating on projects with external partners, customers, and even competitors. That could be because blockchain technology may affect businesses at a strategic level, as early adopters may gain significant advantages by being first to utilize the cost savings and efficiency gains. Was Ethereum the catalyst for the change in attitudes? No, not really. A number of bankers have joined the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, with Ethereum's blockchain seemingly becoming an industry standard in private blockchain implementations. The main reason is probably because Ethereum has a public blockchain, therefore it has a huge bounty of some $25 billion for anyone who can exploit any bug. As none have managed so far, that means you can be sure it is very secure. The second benefit of a public blockchain is the potential to more easily connect to a private blockchain, thus potentially allowing different blockchains to communicate with each other. However, having one secure and thoroughly daily tested core protocol with other customized private blockchains revolving around it may make more sense in regards to developers' talent, which is in short supply, but largely attracted to ETH, as they can test their skills or transfer them to the public blockchain or Ethereum-based blockchains. Since Ethereum's community has an attitude of politically neutral and many household brands have endorsed it, it is probable this change in attitude is mainly due to the newcomer, which appears to have created a seismic shift as the idea of public and private blockchain collaboration takes ground. What it sounds like to me is Ethereum is going to go POS. The banks are going to be holding massive amounts of Ethereum that is basically whisked into existence, and they're going to stake it on their private blockchains, which will have very little accounting with reality, and they'll be able to modify them in the background because you won't be able to see them. They might as well be fucking databases, shared databases. Water. So yeah, I don't really see that that's the future for cryptocurrencies. I have my doubts with regard to Ethereum, and a lot of people do have reservations about it. I consider any cryptocurrency that banks have thrown millions, possibly even billions of dollars at to be a good thing. So I immediately hold Ripple and Ethereum both in suspicion because bankers have been all up in that business. All up in that business. But continuing on with this thread, because I believe anything that draws more interest into the mining space of the public, I think that's a good thing. Because, I mean, literally we are laying the groundwork for the future economy of this planet. So why shouldn't we, right? Anyway, this one is on themerkle.com. Top 6 graphics cards to mine Ethereum with. And this is by JP Buntix, and it was on June 9th of 2017. Pardon me. A lot of cryptocurrency enthusiasts are looking at ways to mine Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies. Unfortunately, this has caused a shortage of most AMD cards in various countries. For those people who can still get a hold of the following graphics cards, cryptocurrency mining can become quite an interesting venture. Do keep in mind all the cards mentioned in this article may require some tweaks to achieve the optimal hash rate / power consumption threshold you desire. Number 6. The Radeon R9 295X2. Although very few people may have heard of this graphics card before, it is quite a powerful solution to mine Ethereum. With a maximum speed of just above 45 megahashes per second, it is one beastly GPU to mine Ethereum with. The only downside is the steep price, around $575, if you can find it. This card alone is as powerful as 2 cheaper model cards combined, although those 2 cards will cost slightly less and be more power efficient. Still, it is an excellent card to use if you have access to cheaper electricity. Number 5. The Radeon HD 7990. Once a powerful graphics card for video gaming, the Radeon 7990 has quickly become a favorite among cryptocurrency miners as of late. It is even more expensive, around $629, than the 295X2, which makes it somewhat less attractive. However, it has lower power cost compared to the card above, which also impacts its performance a bit. At 36 megahashes per second, it is a very competitive card, but perhaps best to pick up secondhand for a lower price. Sapphire Radeon R, and this is number 4. Sapphire Radeon RX 470. Similar to its bigger brother, the Sapphire Radeon RX 470 makes for an excellent Ethereum mining card. With some minor tweaks, it becomes possible to reach 29 megahashes per second of mining power. Oh man, sorry. It's late. I've already been beat up a lot today. My apologies. 29 megahashes per second of mining power while drawing 140 watts from the wall. This is yet another card increasingly difficult to find for a decent price, though a second-hand card may be your best bet for all Radeon cards right now. Number 3. The Sapphire Radeon RX 480. One should never discount the previous generation of AMD cards either. The RX 400 series is quite powerful when it comes to Ethereum mining, although stock availability is becoming a major issue as well. The average Sapphire Radeon RX 480 can generate 27 megahashes per second of mining power while drawing 150 watts from the wall. Finding one of these cards in new condition for under $500 is nearly impossible though. Number 2. The AMD Radeon RX 580. Most miners at home prefer to buy the latest generation of AMD video cards for obvious reasons. The cards are cheaper to buy, easy to set up, and pack quite a bit of performance. the Radeon RX 580 can mine at a top speed of 29 megahashes per second while drawing 150 watts from the wall. Finding one is incredibly difficult right now though. Their regular price is around $450, but the lack of stock can push its price tag up to $800 and more. Number 1. The NVIDIA GTX 1070. Many people will be surprised to learn that an NVIDIA 1070 card can actually be used to mine Ethereum. If you can get a proper overclocked model, a mining speed of 32 megahashes per second is certainly within reach. The card also draws just 140 watts from the wall, making it rather energy efficient. For the price tag of $375, it is a quite cheap card as well, considering you get a ton of performance out of it. NVIDIA is no longer a company just designing gaming cards. That much is certain. And yes, I must agree. It's a little late. You know, I've been saying this for a long time now. That, you know, it's time for these fuckers to get serious. It's time for them to get into the fucking mining sphere and address it as more than just a secondary market, which it was for quite a while there. And, you know, we had seen a lull in interest with regard to mining cryptocurrencies, and then all of a sudden Bitcoin started shooting up over $1,500, and people started saying, well, gosh, I think I've got a mining rig around here somewhere. Maybe it's profitable to do that again. You know, and the more interest is drawn into this, the more expensive cryptocurrencies will get, because more power will be devoted into mining them, which will make the networks more secure and so on and so forth. But I'm really hoping this latest drive will show the economic incentives behind just leaving us the fuck alone, man. Just keep the foot off the neck. Let this thing flourish. Because it's the promise of liberating our economy in ways we never even envisioned is literally at our hands here. I think it's just silly to try and give that back to mom and dad. I mean, because clearly they have shown themselves to be incapable of doing it themselves. As a matter of fact, I swear I saw something in here about finance regulation that was fucking up. And for some stupid reason, I closed the fucking tab. And you know that happens every once in a while. You'll find a good article and you just lose the damn thing. But Wells Fargo, they've been in the news as of late for being investigated and shit. But the problems that Wells Fargo is facing right now, they are not new to legacy finance. And with that in mind, it's not hard to tell why people are wanting to get into cryptocurrencies. I mean, the biggest banks have been showing us that they are incapable of doing their jobs without robbing us, without stealing from us. And I find that very, very unfortunate. Oh, holy shit, wait a minute. Holy crap. I saw something interesting here just as I flipped it over to... Ooh. This one is on CBS Philly. Exclusive. Oh, you're going to love this. Wells Fargo employee arrested on charges of fraud and identity theft. And this one was written on June 8th of 2017. And do we have an author? No, we don't. But it's short and sweet. You're going to love this. Philadelphia. Police arrested a Wells Fargo employee accused of bank fraud and identity theft. Asante Denise East, A customer representative for Wells Fargo, located at 700 Adams Avenue, allegedly engaged in a scheme with others, depositing fraudulent checks and withdrawing money, according to Pennsylvania Attorney General's office. She reportedly accessed 54 compromised Wells Fargo accounts, according to court documents. In addition, authorities say East fraudulently replicated checks of the accounts, allegedly, as well as deposited fraudulent checks into the accounts. Authorities also say East usually accessed the compromised accounts from anywhere from 5 days before the fraudulent transaction to 10 days after the fraudulent transaction, according to court documents. The investigation is ongoing, and authorities are searching for more suspects. And I strongly bet there's going to be more of them, because Wells Fargo has been fucking up. Anyway, yeah, good. They're finally putting people in fucking jail over this shit. But, you know, it's far more systemic with regard to Wells Fargo in particular. And I think it'll be really surprising if they maintain themselves as a singular entity too much further into the future. Although, you gotta wonder how much of this shit is happening because of quote-unquote blockchain. You know, that they're trying to apply this blockchain technology, and all of a sudden they're finding out that, like, all their bank managers are fucking up and defrauding their customers, and there's all this fraudulent activity going on behind their facade of reputability. And, you know, they're finding out the hard way that they're not going to be able to maintain the game as they have. You know, I've warned about it, and, you know, it's only going to get worse. The more that they actually try to apply this technology to enrich themselves, the more they're going to end up disintermediating themselves from finance entirely. I mean, you know, if you listen to the show and you just listen to the articles that I'm reading to you, you can see the drift. Okay, it's notable over time. It's one of the reasons why I do the show Monday, Wednesday, and Friday instead of every day. Because if you're doing it every day, you kind of don't really notice it. You know, the progression is too gradual. But if you at least allow 48 hours, that's more than enough time for there to be a publication, and then a retraction, and then a publication again, and then an article written about the kerfuffle between all that shit. You know, it's more than enough time for everybody to have reacted to it and discerned the veracity of the claims. You know, I think that's one of the things that's happening with regard to segregated witness now, is that, you know, people are taking the time to either listen to this show or go back and read the paperwork for segregated witness and Lightning Network, and they're saying, you know what, Bitcoin doesn't really need this shit. You know, and they're starting to argue with these people that have changed their Twitter tags to UASF and all that. And I find that to be a good thing. You know, that the cryptosphere is basically pointing back and saying, no, we're not on board with this shit. We don't like the idea of you waving a gun around and trying to force people to acquiesce to your demands. I mean, that's not really why we got into this whole thing. We got into this whole thing because of choice. Specifically because of choice. Because cryptocurrencies allow us a choice that we haven't had for at least the last century. And that's the choice between whether or not we want to transact with currencies that are created out of thin air by these central banks. And I think more and more we're determining that we don't really want to do that anymore. And with that, I want to bring this episode to a close. I want to thank you all very, very much for listening. I really do appreciate the support. Just one word on my Twitter account. Apparently I'm like shadow banned or something. So If I'm not liking your stuff, it's not because I don't like your stuff. It's because I can't. I try and it goes gray again. I click on it, it goes red for just a moment and then goes gray again. I don't understand it. Anyway, that's the case for right now. So it's not because I don't love you. It's because Twitter hates me. That's all there is to it. Anyway, we will be back Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want you all to enjoy your weekend. I want you to trade safe. I want you to do your homework. And I want you to watch out for your own bunghole because nobody else is going to do it for you. Thank you very much for listening. And I'm going to go ahead and close this one out with Cowboys from Hell from Pantera. Thanks again for listening and good night.